My name is Natasha Sherman, and I am your host. And my guest today is Sherry Venza. Sherry is the mother of Ryan, who at the age of 25, 10 months ago, died of a drug overdose. And she's here today not really to share her story, but to educate us and to hopefully wake us up. Welcome.
Thank you, Natasha.
So let's start. First of all, I want to thank you for being here. It really takes something. Ryan died 10 months ago. It's a painful subject. Most of us can't even imagine living through it, let alone coming and talking about it. But out of your commitment to other people's children, that you're here 10 months later to talk about it, I just want to acknowledge you. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Natasha. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm actually here for my own selfish reasons.
Good.
Because I'm here to honor my son. And I wouldn't want any parent not only to not, go through what I'm currently going through and will go through the rest of my life without my child, but if I had information I'm here to give to somebody that will hopefully, be able to use it, which I wish I'd had, which maybe my son would be here then. So that's my goal.
And I want to hear about that, but I think one of the biggest things is we hear about drug addiction. We hear about people dying of a drug overdose. And we feel bad in the sense of it's theoretical, but it's usually in our consciousness, it's somewhere out there. Mm-hmm. It's not us, and it's not impacting our lives. And so say a little bit about that.
I was one of those people, judgmental, drug addict, not my kid, not my son. My son, he had a scholarship to Petty. My son was in Rutgers University pulling off great grades, and he was going to school full time. How could a kid that was doing that well be a drug addict, And the sad, horrible fact is that it's an epidemic. Not only is it so not out there in somebody else, when I started going through this whole process, I was shocked that it is almost every single family is either directly dealing with it or knows somebody who is. It's like the big pink elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. And that's what's stopping these children. And we're losing a generation. It's what's stopping these children from getting the help they so desperately need to live. This is life and death. And I'm not even being dramatic here.
Right. And I think, the thing is, it's not that parents don't care about their children. It's that they're in denial. Mm-hmm. They also, as you say, and I want you to talk more about that, the warning signs, but also they don't perceive the threat. So, for instance, in the medicine cabinet is a prescription for oxycodone, or how is that pronounced?
Oxycontin. But oxycodone is actually another one.
And next to it is a Band-Aid, very benign, and it's just a medicine. And so the underlying message is it's pretty benign. Doctors give it out, and then even if kids try it, I think in the back of their mind is it's pretty benign.
It's safe. It's a doctor-prescribed medicine. They don't know what they're doing. I didn't know what OxyContin was. Imagine my shock when I found out it is synthetic heroin. It is heroin. And this is what really upset me when I started going through this process. When I was 17, 16, high school, it was kind of the norm for kids to go through the rites of passage. Yeah, they'll do a little drink, and they might try a little pot, or dabble in something else. But at that time, my generation, that was something that, okay, they're going to be exposed to it. Some of them are going to try it. They'll get over it. That's not how it is today. Today, it's a whole different generation, a whole different, way of being. Because these kids, when they're dabbling, if you will, they're being passed around these pills. And I know this because I talked to kids after this happened with my son. I says, how did this even happen? How did it get here? They're at a party, they're drinking, they have pot, whatever, and they're passing around pills. Well, it must be safe if a doctor prescribed it. They don't even know what the hell they're doing. I called my friends.
I think part of the, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I think part of, at that age, really, they think they're going to live forever. They are invincible.
And so, I know I was when I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they don't even realize that they're addicted until they're addicted. And it can happen. It's heroin. And these pills, what I've learned, range anywhere from $30 to $60 or $80, depending on how strong they are, how potent. Eventually, and I had somebody who was a drug addict in recovery now say, eventually, the pills run out because either the dealer goes to jail, dies, or you can't afford it. a bag of heroin, which is the same thing as an Oxycontin or oxycodone, is cheaper or as expensive as a six-pack of beer. It's not a question of, will this person go from the pills to the street heroin and use needles? It's when. It is an absolute. And this is one thing I never understood, and most of my friends did. So I called my friends. I said, look in your medicine cabinets right now, because if you have Oxycontin in there, do you know almost every single person I called had it in their medicine cabinet from a surgery they had had on their knee, or, doctor prescribed and whatnot. When I told them that it was synthetic heroin, they were shocked. I said, get rid of it right now. I mean, and it was in almost every one, and there's derivatives of it, oxycodone, hydrocodone, which is cough medicine. I mean, the thing that gets me, Natasha, is that these medicines, they're doctor prescribed. There are alternatives to this stuff. It's synthetic heroin. How is this even possible?
Yes, I wanted to read something to you. It said, of all countries, the United States has the highest total consumption of oxycodone. In 2007, 51.6 tons, or 82% of the world total. This translates into over 500 million 80-milligram tablets per year. In addition, the U.S. has the highest per capita consumption of oxycodone, higher than all the other countries combined.
That's scary.
It is scary, and we've been lulled into thinking that it is relatively benign. But I want to go back to what you said. You wish you had known.
Yes.
There were signs. What is it that you wish you had known?
Well, that it's not the same in this generation as it was in mine. When these kids
That's
are
a biggie.
Oh, it's huge. If I, we all have these, if I knew then what I know now, but honestly, if I could turn the clock back to when my son was 16, 17, and I knew that he, was at a party drinking or had smoked pot, believe me, my reaction now would have been 1,000 times different than then. He got punished, he got grounded, whatever. Now, I have to be honest with you, you can't be too cautious, because know this, if you're seeing your child drink or smoke, it is 3 to 5 times worse than what you're saying. That is a scary fact. And I have to tell you, these Oxycontins and Oxycodones are as easily and as much available as alcohol or pot. And they're doing it all.
You know what just crossed my mind? Because it's still, I think, hard for people to accept. It is different. Like, what makes it different? Well, I think the larger availability of it, the fact that it occurs as a harmless, relatively harmless drug. But it occurs to me it lies in the realm of, this is a different time. So when we were young, we weren't exposing ourselves on a cell phone and sexting, okay? That was 1 or 2 generations ago. The world has changed. It's changed dramatically. So just like that is different, so is the relationship to drugs, I think.
Oh, absolutely. The key component being what hangs in the balance is your child's life.
Yes.
Here's a scary statistic. 98% of addicts will die. And I know me, and I'm being honest, as a parent, I was in denial. I never realized that it was that bad. My son couldn't be a drug addict. And when they're a juvenile before the age of 18, as a parent, you can put them in rehab. They have no say-so. Once they hit that age of 18, your rights are done. They can do whatever they want. And it's scary. I know because I lived it. And as desperate as when I found out,
So when did your son first overdose on drugs? Like ended up in an emergency room?
Yeah, it was, I guess he was 21 or 22.
So now he's past the age where you have control.
Oh, absolutely.
You meet him in the emergency room, and he's overdosed.
Well, prior to that, what had happened is I'd gotten a call. He was not talking coherently and whatnot, so I had gone there because he wasn't living home. And I had gone there, and I looked through his stuff, and I found things I didn't know what the heck I was even looking at, right? So it was these little plastic bags with numbers on them. I called a friend of mine who's a police detective with narcotics, and I described everything I found. I go, what is it? He goes, it's heroin. I remember dropping to my knees, and then he said, Sherry, he's using needles, he's shooting. I still think in that moment can't breathe, because life as I know it was over. It was over in every which way. And you're so desperate as a parent to save your child. Nothing matters more than your child, at least for most parents. So what I did is that week I had an intervention done on my son. Okay, I know what has to be done. He has to go to rehab. He'll be fine. Go to rehab, everything's fixed. That's not how it works. I got such an education. This is not just about the drug addict, and I even hate that label, okay? This is a disease. It's a family disease. And, as a parent, I was like, first I went into, how could I have not known? How could I have not? How did it get this far? Well, what did I do wrong? Why didn't my child start using drugs? At least I did. And the parents I've spoken to all blame themselves. But then we bring that to the drug addict, okay?
So now you're involved, your emotions, your guilt.
And you're bringing that to the drug addict, which actually pushes them further into their addiction. The thing is, they don't want to be doing it. They can't stop. I mean, Natasha, I use this analogy, okay? How many people are on a diet and can really stick to it?
Right.
All right? I mean, I know me.
I can't give up coffee.
Okay, caffeine. Right. And, so you expect, okay, well, just stop. It doesn't work that way. It's a disease. It's like if you have, God forbid, cancer, not that I'm comparing the two, but just for an analogy, you go to an oncologist, okay? Yes. You need to go to a licensed, a real doctor who has a license, not people who tout themselves as an expert with no real knowledge and degrees behind them. Are you a drug addiction specialist? Are you a drug addiction doctor? Are you an actual doctor? Not somebody who just puts counselor on a card. Anybody can do that. So know who you're dealing with, first of all.
So it's good. You have to check your resources,
Absolutely.
check your facts, that just because someone hangs out a shingle and
That's
says,
right.
drug counselor.
That's right.
And one of the things you said to me in a conversation was, for years there have been 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
And for Narcotics Anonymous, 90 meetings, 90 days. And when Ryan talked to you about that, that program didn't work for him. And what did he tell you about those?
Well, he had said when he was in rehab, okay, that, they had a one-mold-fits-all. He says he wishes there was something that was a little bit more diverse. He said he couldn't meditate. I mean, I'm not a drug addict. I can't meditate. I just can't because I just can't. It frustrates me. But he said that all it did was make him want to do drugs more. He wished he'd had other options. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. He said, when, it's a great program, works for a lot of people. I'm not putting it down. But with the times, things change, people change. They need to be more diverse. And my son had, said that, which is one of the reasons why, said that this wasn't around when my son was going through this, but there's a place called Summit Behavioral Health, which offers that, which I think is amazing, know?
So part of it is different times, different, different possibilities, different resources.
Yes.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was when your son first ended up in the hospital,
Yes.
And you thought, oh, good, because the police are called in and, at least now there's going to be some kind of a legal intervention.
Right. Obviously at first, is my son alive? Did he survive? Is they bring him? And I said, okay, this is horrible, but he's alive, he's okay. Now something has to be done, even though he doesn't want to go. Imagine my shock when I walk into the emergency room and I'm told by the doctor that his overdose was not considered a suicide attempt because he didn't purposely take a bottle of pills and say, I want to kill myself.
Talk about shock. Now there's no going to a crisis center or...
No. He got up, he walked out within the hour. And he walked out and got high again. I have to tell you, Natasha, talk about the shock. Here's the biggest irony, at least in the state of New Jersey. They won't consider that a suicide attempt yet. On my son's death certificate, since he died of a drug overdose, it's listed as a suicide. That just defies comprehension, okay? I'm sorry, yes, it is something I'm very angry about.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
Once he's dead, now it's a suicide attempt, but a successful one.
Yes.
But before then, it's not a suicide attempt.
Yeah, what the heck is that?
Because he didn't die.
Right, and it wasn't, he didn't try to, well, you know what? If an addict does not stop using, they're going to die, or end up as a vegetable in a vegetative state because of the drugs in the brain if they do survive. I mean, if they don't stop, it's not going to be a good ending either way it goes.
One of the things I want to talk about, because I still think that underneath it all, no matter what we say, people are going to blame the addict and blame the parents in some way. It's just a lack of understanding.
Yes.
And the thing that was so compelling about what you told me, now, you live in Robbinsville.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, a nice community, and people are well educated, and living a nice lifestyle. And when Ryan died at his funeral, of all the kids that were at his funeral, a lot of them, you said all of them were high, except for 2.
Well, at the house after his passing, a lot of the kids had come over, and in my own home, there were only 2 kids that were not in recovery. 2! And then at the funeral, I couldn't believe these kids coming up to my son's casket, and you can tell, I mean, the education I got, you could see it. The youth, most of them were high.
And so even your son's death,
Yes.
at his funeral,
Yes.
they're doing the same drugs that killed him.
It's a disease, and it's not that they want
That's
to do
where
it.
you get that it's a disease.
It is a disease. It's a family disease. It's not just about the addict. There's an enabler, there's a codependent, and, you know, as much as people want to be in denial, you know, you don't have time. You know, go get the help you need, and that's why I like City of Angels. I hadn't used them, which I wished I had, because I think my son, again, would have had a better chance. As soon as they do a pre-intervention, okay, the family's told, go to our family class. They have licensed doctors, real doctors that deal with drug and substance abuse, as does the Summit Behavioral Health. These are real doctors. These aren't people just touting themselves as, oh, I volunteer, which is great, but you have no business.
You have to have expertise.
That's right, because you're dealing with a lot of emotional, mental, severe, you know, issues. I mean, people think they're acting right and making the best decisions, and right now you got to make the most intense decisions you're ever going to make in your life, because your kid's life depends on it. Only you can't think.
And exactly. And you're making your decisions based on a belief system that no longer exists.
That no longer exists, and that you don't have the education you need to know what you're really making decisions about. Your son or your daughter does not want to be doing this. They're ashamed of themselves, okay? You're bringing to the table more things to push them further into their addiction without meaning to and realizing it. I yelled at my son. What are you doing? Go get help. You need to go to rehab, and then you'll be fine. That's not how it works. It's a process.
So I want to say a little bit more about that. So first of all, one of the things that you've said to me in conversation before is rehab is just the first step.
Yes.
Okay, so and rehab, people end up in rehab many times. And it's not the fix it, one pill, you know, and the magic bullet and kind of, okay, now we're done. So the expectation has to be changed. But also the thing that I want to ask you more about is, when you say it's a family disease, I want you to expand on that a little bit more, because people can sometimes take offense. What do you mean it's a family disease, you know?
Well, a lot of times there's a genetic predisposition to addiction. You know, they differentiate between alcoholism and a drug addict. It is the same thing across the board. You know,
Addiction is addiction.
addiction is addiction. It's just a liquid form of chemical, and that in of itself still amazes me. I talked to a father over the weekend, okay, and his son's in recovery, and his son went to an AA meeting versus an NA meeting, which is Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and his son lied and said he was a recovering alcoholic.
Better to be an alcoholic than a drug addict.
Right, and his father says, why didn't you? He says, well, because I don't want the alcoholics to look down on me. And I was like, that's crazy. It's the same thing. And here's the other thing, Natasha, that really shocked me. The needle use, the shooting up is so prevalent. And you know what? There's no difference. Yes, it opens the door for more health issues, but there's no difference on the effects of the drug once it's in there. It's just how much more quickly they're getting high. And even the
So taking a pill is no different than shooting up,
and
it's just the speed.
And one is going to lead to the other. Not it might. I listen to these kids, oh, I did that. Well, I'll never do that. Really? Because, I had an addict tell me that, going through withdrawal, and here's something interesting. Going through withdrawal from heroin, you won't die. You'll go through hell and it's painful, but you won't die. Going through withdrawal from alcohol, you could die.
And yet alcoholism is looked at as more benign.
Right, which it's all the same thing. It's a liquid chemical, okay?
Right.
So there's a genetic predisposition, okay, usually. And, usually there's underlying emotional issues, okay? Unintentional. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
We all have stuff, okay?
Right.
So,
and then you glom that onto whatever's happening in their lives in the outside world, and things happen.
and as a parent, I don't care who you are faced with a lot of issues you may not want to deal with, not ready, but you better deal with them head on, because your son or your daughter's life depends on it.
Even if the only issue is denial, there's something that there's some process that parents have to go through
Absolutely.
in order to shift that paradigm.
Absolutely.
And in shifting that, I think it opens the door to other things. And I think part of it is the enabling process. Like, it comes out of love, but
Absolutely.
it's the wrong thing.
Absolutely, and there's always guilt, too, because parents ultimately feel responsible. I talked to a mom, her daughter's been, dead for almost 2 years now, and she had said to me, she says, I still feel like I did something wrong. She still feels responsible for her child's death, okay? And I think every parent I've spoken to does, and I do, too, to a degree, all right? But the fact of the matter is, if people get themselves educated and get the right kind of help, it's like there's an illusion of control, too. You think that you can stop the addict from doing it. You can't. It's an illusion. You have no control. So learn how you can support, and you have to learn and get educated.
It is new skills.
Yes.
So going back to, what parents need to know, I think one of the things is wake up.
Absolutely.
Check your medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Get rid of anything there that you're not using, and if you are using it for medicinal purposes, lock it away.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, if you're seeing things, I'm so sick of hearing this about parents. Well, I'd rather they drink at home. At least I know they're safe. No, you're advocating something. You don't even know what you're advocating. Again, this is not going back like a generation ago. So you're making it okay. I have a lot of parents I've heard say, oh, I'm my child's friend, and this may offend people, and I don't care. Okay, because that's not what a child needs. Okay, I'm not here to judge people or anything like that. But
a child needs someone to be a parent.
They do, and you have to be aware that when they're dabbling, if you're seeing your child drink, you're seeing your child smoke pot, it's 3 to 5 times worse, and that's a fact,
Okay, so now, let's say you do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do as a parent?
You immediately check out the warning signs. How are their grades at school? Has their behavior changed at home or in school?
But you said Ryan had good grades. So
He
what else?
did, but I noticed that his moods were changing when he was a teenager. I attributed it to, hormones, teenage years,
Right.
It says rites of passage, not realizing that doesn't apply. There's a whole different set of issues going on today.
So what did you see? You saw that his moods were
His
changing.
moods were changing. He was, withdrawing a little bit. He was hanging with different kids. Just, spending a lot of time, just him and his girlfriend in their room and not going out, not as, So
Not as engaged in life.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now let's say I'm a parent who notices this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, chances are good if I, confront them, they're going to say, oh, forget about it, it's nothing. Then what do I do?
Well, I mean, your house is your house. Their room is in your house. You search their room. You're probably going to find something. My son showed me how, the drug tests, he can make them come up negative. They're very, very smart, these kids. They're not stupid, okay? If you have a gut instinct that's telling you something's wrong. You take it and run with it. You
So
can't
search
be
their
too
rooms.
cautious. Absolutely.
Yes.
Search their
That's
rooms.
being the parent.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean you go searching their rooms all the time if there's no reason or no
Correct.
indication.
Right.
But if you think this is your first step in saving their lives.
Yes, because you have control to a point while they're a juvenile. You can remand them to get help whether they want it or not. Once they hit that age of 18, it's out of your hands.
So pre-18, if you find something.
Absolutely. Get help. Call City of Angels. Talk to somebody who's a drug specialist and find out the warning signs yourself. If you think your kid hasn't, talk to somebody who can give you definitive information, and then they can help you determine how to handle it.
Yeah.
Go to the experts.
So this is the other thing. You told me that you had gone to a doctor and you had said to him, my son died, and he was very sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said of a drug overdose.
Well, I'm sorry, yes,
Go
he
ahead.
asked me, he goes, well, how did your son pass? I said, oh, he overdosed. Well, not only did his demeanor change, it was like, oh, I mean, the stigma attached to it.
And you actually said, my children.
He said, my children are fine and they're not on drugs. I said, you know what, I'm happy for you. And I mean that. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But, the stigma attached to it, the way people are right away, and what is so amazing to me is it is so prevalent. I saw a doctor, I was recently, ill bronchitis, whatever, And I asked the doctor, I said, with all you see, what would your advice be? She started laughing. She says, you know, it amazes me. People think they're the only ones dealing with it. Can I tell you, every single day when people come into my office, it is everywhere. There's people dealing with it. It's everywhere. It's not isolated. It's the big pink elephant in the room. Nobody talks about it.
So it's called Open Your Eyes and take a look.
Yes, more awareness. But once you have it, what do? Go to the experts. You know, you are not, I was not qualified to deal with drug addiction. I am not a drug addiction specialist. It's a disease. If you need car work, you go to a mechanic. You don't go to a plumber, okay? Yes. You have a child or you have a drug addiction issue, not just children, spouses, boyfriends, the whole 9 yards. Go to the experts and make sure they're accredited.
That's good.
That's the key.
We have a few minutes, but I wanted to read something else. The American Society of Addiction Medicine has released a new definition of addiction, highlighting that it is a chronic brain disorder and not simply a behavioral problem involving too much alcohol, drugs, gambling, or sex. So 4 years of work with 80 experts opened the door, saying that it's not a behavioral problem, that thank God, finally, it is an illness. And America has only 5% of the world population, yet consumes over 60% of illegal drugs in the world. 95% of untreated addicts die of their addiction. Mm-hmm. Approximately half of state prison inmates report that they were under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of their offense. So it's not like it doesn't impact everyone. This problem impacts everyone.
Natasha, our emergency rooms, our healthcare, our police, okay?
Yes.
Our EMTs. I mean, this is everywhere. This is an epidemic. I am not joking or being dramatic when I say we're losing a generation here. 2 kids that were not in recovery out of all these young adults. I couldn't wrap. I was like, what kind of bubble was I living in? And I thought I was pretty aware of things. I knew nothing about nothing. And I have to tell you, I walked into an R9 meeting. I knew most of the people in there. I was shocked. You're talking police officers, professionals, DA agents. I mean, people with this knows no boundaries as far as, ethnic groups, financial demographics. None of that applies. This crosses all and every boundary. Okay? And it's
Nobody is exempt.
That's
Even
correct.
if you don't have an addict in your family,
That's right.
you know someone who has an addict in theirs.
That's
And
right.
even if you don't have an addict in your family, it is affecting you as a society.
Yes, it is.
Crimes get committed because of drug addiction. People die because of drug addiction.
Yes.
So we are all involved, and it has to be acknowledged, first of all. So we have about 30 seconds left. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I really hope people hear what I wouldn't want one parent to end up where I'm at today. Okay, no parent should bury their child. It defies every law of nature in existence. And my life has changed. And I just hope one parent out there hears this and maybe it could save one kid. But get aware, get the knowledge, the information. If you think there's something wrong, jump on it. Please, don't be too...
Trust that.
Yes.
Yeah, don't be overly cautious.
Yes.
Sherry, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for the opportunity, Natasha.
My name is Natasha Sherman. Thank you for joining us.